Welcome to episode 5 of the Scaffchamp special edition version of the View with Vertex. I'm joined by my next two guests. They are Martin of Layher Germany.
Hi.
And Chris. Martin and Chris are going to be commentating on the event over the next couple of days. Gentlemen, welcome. Welcome to Vilnius.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good to be here. For the invitation.
It's crazy that I'm welcoming people to a city that's not even my city to welcome people to. It's fantastic to be here. So
we've seen this thing a little bit more from the pre-party than you.
Yes.
So it's absolutely amazing what's happening outside.
Mm-hmm.
The energy is great. People are great.
Yeah, it's been pretty awesome. It blows my mind, actually. It's much more over the top than I would have ever imagined.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've not really had much of a chance to get out there and experience it. Me and Addy just went in for lunch and had a walk around. It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
For a start, the amount of people, and this is only day one, so this isn't the proper event.
Right.
This is kind of the warm-up.
Yeah.
I think I saw one or two teams maybe getting a little too warmed up. I've joined them.
We will see what happens with them tomorrow.
That's true.
Well, if it's anything like real scaffolding, then one team at least won't turn up. And I know this because I've had a scaffolding company, and there's always one team lets you down.
So that's life. We have to cope with it.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll join together and we'll make a world team.
A pickup team.
Yeah. And we had that idea, so didn't we? Like maybe do a pickup team of different countries from different people from different nations. It's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
I think this thing's just going to grow and grow. I think over the years, people are going to add ideas to it. It wouldn't surprise me at all if the event ended up, happening in different locations, much like the actual Olympics.
Yeah.
I hope so. It'd be great to see this thing in England. It'd be great to see a British team involved. They pulled out. Do you know this? The British team.
Yeah. Sadly, but it was for me interesting to see a British team coming into doing system scaffolding. So that would be really interesting.
I think so. I think so, definitely, because we have this, like I say, we've got this, and rightly deserved in a lot of senses because of the way we manage health and safety and scaffolding and compliance and everything in the UK. We have this idea that we're at the top of our game. Come on, man, come and prove it. And if if tube and fitting so hard and system so easy, then this should be a walk in the park. Come and get involved.
So come and mess up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'll happen. I think there will be a British team at some point. Hot Rimmer, I spoke to earlier on. They're serious about this.
Yeah. There's some guys out there who are like really, you can tell they're intense. In fact, apparently last year, you weren't here last year, but no. Apparently last year, they had a ton of guys sign up for the arm wrestling contest that's going on right now. And this year,
ever again.
A lot of the guys were like, I'm saving myself for tomorrow, so I can't sign up for
the
arm wrestling contest. Yeah.
Right. I have this opinion about arm wrestling. I would rather have you a fist fight because I think I would probably injure myself less. Every time I've ever arm wrestled with somebody, I've been in days off work, like pain, for fucking weeks afterwards. So it's just, I get people, if you're good at it and you take it seriously, but every time I do it, I injure myself. I'd rather someone just punch me in the face.
I'm not a scaffolder, but from what I know of scaffolders, a more appropriate competition would be a slap contest.
Oh, have you seen those?
Yes.
Well, I've got a slight advantage, as we've discussed, because I'm deaf in this ear for this week, and I noticed a lot of them put the earbuds, ear defenders in.
Yeah.
For the slap. That's a crazy contest, isn't it? Crazy. I think careful what you wish for, because it might just happen organically. These scaffolders, they've had a couple of these. It might be more than a slapping contest. Go on.
You mean like in football, there would be a third round?
Yeah.
A third half.
I think maybe we need ice hockey rules where you can have a little punch up, just a small punch up, and then move on afterwards. It's everyone seems to be getting really revved up for it.
Yeah,
everyone seems to be taking it pretty serious. Hot Rimmer themselves, they're really studying they say they're going to really study the drawings and.
So we will see what happens later when the teams are presented, and either then, as I'm informed, right, then when the teams are presented, they also present the designing. what they want to assemble tomorrow, and then we will see how they will approach to assemble the scaffolding. I have had the chance to watch the designing there, and there will be some interesting things to solve it either with system scaffolding, and we can see the differences how they solve this with system, and and it would be interesting to see your opinion how it would be solved with tube and fitting.
I'm looking forward to providing it. I mean, because it was interesting how me and Martin met. We were on the plane, and Adi, the sound engineer or technician, he stood up and he's like, "That guy's," he pointed at your shirt and you had Layher on the back of it. I was like, "Oh yeah," and then it turns out, it's Martin, and so I took a picture and sent it to Oleg. I was like, who's this? And he's like, Martin. So we were chatting away, weren't we, on the plane, and we were speaking about the different ways different countries approach. It's the same thing, isn't it? The same structure, but we have different methods.
Yeah, it starts like a joke starts with what we are talking about. It's not the same like when a Dutch, a British, a French, a German.
Yeah, a Dutch guy, an Englishman, and I walk onto a scaffolding.
Go start doing a scaffolding. It's a total different approach, and trust me, it's due to the experience I have in the training business. It looks different, and we were talking about this before when we went to the scaffolding, and even for him, he realized that okay, there could be a different approach, because everyone thinks it's just scaffolding, but no, it's a hard job putting things together in the right way, do the right things good. That should be the goal.
And there are so many little tiny things that can save you time or cost you. Like I always found, like, and it seems like a really small thing, but the hammer control. So some people place the wedge in the rosette, hammer out, pit, and hammer, and then go to the next one, wedge in, hammer out, hammer back in. You think about that over a scaffold that's going to take you maybe 2 hours to erect. Hammer in, hammer out, hammer in, hammer out. It could potentially be a long time. I've always had the approach of get everything set, everything in its place, and then the hammer comes out and but doesn't always make that noise. That was purely for illustrative purposes. But knock all the pins in and do it afterwards. Small things.
Interesting when you're talking about a Lithuanian scaffolder. We were discussing this outside. He asked me about the rule about the instruction for assembly and use. Are there some rules how to assemble, when to fix the wedges? Does it make sense to fix the wedges when you do the bases, or when should we fix the wedges? And as you told, I have the same opinion, that I try to use the flexibility of the system, so ledges, decks, diagonal, and then hammer down all the wedges, which makes it much more easier for me to assemble it. And either in the dismantling process, open all the wedges but keep them in to have it safe, and then just use the fingers to flip the parts away.
Yeah, small things like that I think can make a big difference. And who was asking? Who was asking outside? Was it Hotrimmer? Which team?
We have two Lithuanian.
So it was a Lithuanian team.
It was a Lithuanian guy.
I think that is interesting, because they clearly. It's a shame there's no gambling, there's no betting, because I think if I was a betting man, my money would be on one of the Lithuanian teams.
Really?
Probably Hotrimmer again. Yeah, I just think they seem to be taking it very, very seriously, and they seem to be planning. And I think planning's massive. Sometimes you can have, especially in scaffolding and construction trades, you can have, I know what I'm doing. Do you know what you're doing? Do you know what you're doing? Well, we all know what we're doing, so we don't need to speak then, do we? Because everybody knows what they're doing. And you just fly off like a bull in a china shop and start doing the job. And then...
But that's the wrong approach.
Absolutely, I think so, yeah.
Absolutely. It's in many trainings I did always when we made the trainings, mostly I try to you're doing trainings yourself, and I made the experience when you say to all the people, okay, go and show me how you assemble a scaffolding, and then all the people are highly motivated. Yeah, they go in, and then you see
And you have the alpha male who wants to take over. Oh, you fucking... And then I've had so many fights in training centers, or had to separate fight because of that.
And after that, then you need to find your way. Then you need to organize yourself. Then you need the approach. This is why I was talking before and saying about making the right things in a good way, in a good manner. So that's how you should approach to this, because, as you said, some guys take it very serious. So you cannot show off tomorrow, be a little bit tipsy, and then expect that you get some respect from all the others. So
no.
This is scaffolding is a serious business.
Yep.
So show the respect to all the others, because we compete here.
Yeah. And I think I was only saying to the last team, I think that's going to be a thing. I think people are going to start taking this more and more seriously. Whereas this year is kind of like a bit of a festival. There's kind of a relaxed vibe to it. I think in a couple more years, it's going to be like similar to, you've seen the World's Strongest Man competition.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be more like that.
Do you think that this translates to better efficiency and more techniques industry-wide because of something like this? The reason I ask is because when Martin and I were talking, because I got a crash course today on scaffolding, and one of the things, I work in businesses, my background in startups and ecosystems, and I think a lot about revenue streams and margins and those kind of things.
Yeah.
And so when I was talking with Martin, he really brought to the forefront to me this concept of everything you do, your profit margins are based on efficiency.
Yes.
Right. So the more efficient you are, the more money you make, because it's less man hours. So when you bid out a job, the quicker you get the job done, the more money you make on profits. Right. But most average scaffolders, the boss thinks about that, but the average scaffolder isn't thinking about that.
They think, when's break time?
Correct.
Yeah. Or what time do I finish?
But if you can tie together the carrot rather than the stick of, by the way, your job's easier and you have to work less hard if you do these things, the boss makes more money, the guy gets to work less and accomplish the same things. Do you think that a competition like this, as it progresses, would change the way that people in the industry operate because they're seeing different techniques of doing things?
I think possibly by osmosis. I think it would, because you're bringing people together and they have different ways and different things. And I guess, the fact that it's televised, people can view that and say, he's done this and he did it that way. And I think it probably will have an efficiency benefit downstream of it. Certainly, yeah. And I think not just even that, I think from a compliance perspective, I think not only the efficiency will improve because of events like this, but the compliance will also improve because, people will turn up and these referees are, you've got to do it a certain way. There's a team from Mongolia. The way things are in, I think it's fair to call Mongolia a developing country, and developed nations are different. But by bringing people from developing nations and developed nations together, they can share ideas, and hopefully it will. I don't think it's going to be an instant thing. No. There will be that element of osmosis to it. But
take care of what you say. I had a trip into a Eastern country, rising up Eastern country, and did a training, and then I was really, really keen on it, and I said to these guys, and I said, doing the scaffolding the old way, put away the harness, dancing on the ledges and having fun and pushing a little bit of adrenaline and just dancing in the sky. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A little bit working off the rules. And then I came on and I looked at them, and they were strictly wearing harnesses. They were really integrating guardrails, ledges, and towboards, and they were using intermediate lifts to install the ledges safe. So there are levels are all, some take it more serious and some take it less serious, but the level is very high now all over the world, because in this country they have this industrial demands, and they demand well-trained scaffolders.
See, I think that's interesting in that, there is a perception of the UK being quite high in standards. There's some terrible scaffolds in the UK, by the way. There's some really, really, and it's frustrating as a business, when you're competing against these guys, and you're like, we're spending this money on compliance. We're making sure we invest in harnesses and making sure the lads have something we use in the UK called the Scaff step, which is the advanced guardrail. It's our way of doing the advanced guardrail.
The scaff step would be an interesting thing to bring into market, to see if the market accepts the scaff step all over.
Internationally.
Absolutely. It's when
it depends. I think it's good for tube and fitting. I think the problem with it is for system, you're better off with a console bracket in 2 decks.
Really think so?
Yeah, because although with the step you've got a ladder to climb on to get onto the deck, and we talked yesterday about putting your ass on the decks and swiveling around. Once you're on those decks, on the 2 console brackets, you've got that entire bay to walk up and down. So that if you fall left, you fall right, you're falling onto decks. On the scaff step, you fall off the step, you've fallen off the step, and it's this big. You know, I think for me, for system, the console bracket is the right way.
Okay.
And plus, you can fix both. You know, if you're working on your own, you can fix both ends. You don't have to climb down, readjust the position. The steps are like a small step ladder.
Yeah.
So you can put the handrails in before you get there. That's the whole idea.
It's when when in some days before we were doing some research about different methods of assembling, and when I presented the scaffold letter to my colleagues in Germany, and everyone was astonished and thought, oh, it could be a nice idea. We should take a more deeper look. But now things regarding assembling scaffolding safe now change a little bit more in the German market than compared to that market or Middle East or UK. So we will see what the future brings into market, and it will be interesting tomorrow, especially for us in the commentation, how they approach this demand in safety, because the regulations really demand. They look onto it.
Yeah, so it's not just speed, is it? There are time penalties for safety concerns.
Absolutely, not hooking the right way is a safety concern. Even be drunk and you are not allowed to
really?
Start.
That's taking it too far. So how with the commentating?
Yeah,
because this was fascinating as well. How did you get involved in the commentating for this particular? Because I know you have a podcast yourself, don't you? In the US. So you've kind of got a background in broadcasting. I heard you say before, since 1992, was it?
Yeah, right out of high school, I was in broadcasting for almost 10 years, radio DJ. Then later on, 2004, I started one of the first 10,000 podcasts on the internet. It was an interesting time because nobody knew what a podcast was, and I thought I was going to make a bunch of money, and there was no money to be made in podcasting because I was just too early.
Yeah, I think so.
Way too early. Like, I would tell my friends, I'd be like, I do a podcast, and they're like, oh, what's a podcast?
Yeah.
Well, it's like a radio show that gets downloaded to your iPod. Oh, that's cool. What's an iPod? And so, like, literally, this is a conversation.
It's always the way.
Yeah.
Like, same with, I think with probably, the internet, same probably with Facebook, and like that. I think there's in the States, there's a .com boom and ultimately bust. Yeah. Because there was the hype behind it. Yeah. The hype was it was warranted. Yeah. But the investment was, it's like we were saying earlier, mining for gold almost. Yeah. So your podcast was, way ahead of its time by the sounds of it. And you're still doing it now. So it's, you've certainly learned things that you can take.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So anyway, fast forward, I started doing a lot of public speaking. I did a lot of presentations. I started a company where we were doing 70 events per year, where I was hosting a lot of these events. And so hosting conferences and hosting these things has always been a part of what I did. I even did, for a while, I was doing some high school football announcing on the radio.
Which is huge in the States, isn't it?
Yeah. It was a small town. It was actually not huge. What I was doing wasn't huge, but I did it, right? And so last February, I came to Sweden to visit my daughter and my granddaughters, and she's married to Jimmy, who's going to be on your show. And he goes to me, he says, hey, the guys from Layher are going to fly in to Sweden to meet me tonight. Do you want to come? And I go, would that be all right? And he goes, yeah. And you get free beer and free dinner. So why don't you come? And I'm like,
okay,
I'll take free beer and free dinner. Yeah. And I get there, and Victor from Layher, Lithuania, sees me on the street, and he goes, my new American best friend. And he gives me this giant beer hug. And I'm like,
the same with me. He's a character.
He is a character.
Apparently, I'm going to have to get him on later on as well. Apparently, he does a very good impression of me, which I'll be fucking...
Oh, I'd like to hear that.
of his Manchester accent.
So we're sitting there the whole time, and I'm like, this is Jimmy's gig. And they're just... And Victor looks at me, and he goes, your son is a rock star. He is special. And I was like, oh, and so they start explaining to me what he means to this competition and what role he's played in the success of this competition. And I know none of this, right? Because Jimmy doesn't run around bragging about like, oh, I did this and I did. And I'm like, this is pretty cool that like my son-in-law is like an influencer in the scaffolding world, which
I've coined the new term actually.
It's kind of like
scafluencer.
I was going to make a joke that was being inappropriate. But, so anyway, we're sitting there, and so I'm just sitting, and I'm like always about like ideas and those kind of things, and so I just trying to be quiet, but I couldn't help, and I'm like, hey, have you guys ever thought about? I don't even remember what I said, and they're like, oh, that's a great idea. I'm like, okay, cool. Have you guys ever thought about? And like every time, finally Victor goes, you should be in our Monday morning brainstorming sessions, and I'm like, that's funny. And so he turns to Oleg and he says something in Lithuanian. And they both start laughing, and I didn't know what he says. And he turns around and he goes, you sound like all the American sports commentators. You should come with Jimmy. And I go, okay. Like we're BSing. We're not really like talking about me coming to Lithuania to do this, right? And he goes, no, you should come. And I'm like, okay, I'll come. And he's like, all right. So like a month later, I get this email, and they're like, we're serious. Would you be our presentation for the stream? And I said, I would love to talk about that. And so we had a conversation about it. We talked about some of the details, and here I am in Lithuania.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think they really are very open-minded, about, you have an idea and like, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's try it out. Let's see.
Well, my standard answer to every opportunity in life is yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like at the end of the day, when I die, I want to be that guy that people go, can you believe he once hosted the scaffolding World Scaffolding Championships? And someone goes, bullshit, there's no World Scaffolding Championship. No, Chris hosted it. I watched the stream, right? That's what I want.
It's an extraordinary life, isn't it? I think that's what we're all kind of, I'm certainly after.
But you can't get that if your standard answer is no. It has to be yes 100% of the time until it's no.
There's an interesting exercise they do, a lot of like business networking events and like team building exercise. And it's, and I think they even do it in improv comedy as well, and it's yes and.
Yep.
Have you heard of this as well?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You'll probably do a better job of explaining it than I would. He said my understanding of it is like, so many times when we're talking about perhaps we could do this, that, most of the time someone will go, yeah, but, and it's an obstacle, and sometimes you can get to the right result with that. You go, yeah, but, and then you go, oh, what about if we do this? Yeah, we could, but, and if you just change yeah, but to yes and, it's a completely different conversation. We could hold a scaffolding championships. Yeah, and we could invite teams from all over the world. Yeah, and we could have a sports commentator, and it just builds.
And.
Yeah, so yes and versus yes but. I think is really helpful to help you, for success.
Yeah,
and just saying, I think another good expression is jump and grow wings on the way down.
Yes.
Yeah.
So a lot of my career has been involved with startups, both from a technology standpoint and from an investment standpoint, and building entrepreneur ecosystems. And so we call it building the plane while you're jumping off the cliff.
Yeah, same kind of.
You're literally building it while you're. That's what you do with a startup. Is you're building it while you're flying.
We were talking last night about sayings and expressions and how sometimes they don't translate, and really interesting. Different languages and the way people communicate. And I think Victor said on this. On his episode last time, he went, yes, it's the same because we are not inventing bicycle. And what he meant was, don't reinvent the wheel. It didn't quite translate properly. But I do like a good saying. You have a good one as well, don't you?
We say something in Germany like, some see opportunities and some see problems.
Yeah. And what's the one about the dog in the tree?
That's the different point of view.
Yeah.
Sometimes you are the dog and sometimes you are the tree.
Yeah, and you have to. I love it. I love these expressions. We have a football manager, and he manages my team, Eric Ten Hag, and they were interviewing him the other day. And the Dutch are great for this, by the way. Just crazy expressions. You're like, what the fuck? What does that mean? And he was making an observation that, well, it's kind of like, oh, it's obvious that now because the event has happened. And he said, in Holland, we say you are looking a cow in the ass. Like, what? You're looking a cow in the ass. Wow. Easy to see from behind, I guess, is the fucking...
Hindsight is 2020.
Yeah. That sort of thing. But they have some fucking brilliant phrases and expressions. I think that, again, this is another reason why I've really enjoyed the event and everything around it, is because there's so many different cultures.
Yeah.
So many different perspectives on things.
I called my wife. Oh, go ahead.
And everyone has the same. We were talking about this before. Everyone has the same passion is scaffolding, and even he now gets the same passion scaffolding. He gets passionate about the business.
Well, one of the things that Martin and I were talking, he said something to me last night that really caught my attention. He said scaffolding is the ultimate team sport, and I started thinking about last night. When you think about the other trades in construction, most of them are a single person with an apprentice, or some apprentices. It's not a team. It's a dictatorship, right? Yeah. And so scaffolding, it really is.
Some scaffolding companies are like that as well.
Well, I'm sure they are. But a well-run one, it's a team approach. And just like in any sport, you have the person driving the team, the manager, the quarterback, the captain, whatever else. You still have but it's all about the team, right? Yeah. And so when people come to an event like this here from scaffolding, it's really unique because they're coming preconditioned to be collaborative. They're coming preconditioned to be a part of a brotherhood and a team. And you just don't see that in other industries.
No. That's a very interesting perspective, actually.
Absolutely, when we're talking about this.
It really is a very interesting perspective because, like you say, it is a team sport. And there's, I guess we are more collaboratively minded.
Well, and they also...
not one single person can assemble a scaffolding. You always need minimum one guy to help you. And you need one driver who has the driver license.
There's a guy, right, on YouTube, and I don't know whether his videos have been taken down or not, because I think there may be some safety concerns there. I'm not going to dig it. He gets a lot of people saying negative things about him. I'm not going to, but the guy's called Scaffold, or I think Scaffold Shark. I'd love, by the way, if you listen, I'd love to get him on just to hear his perspective. But he does scaffolding on his own, just him. He drives a truck. He gets the materials onto the scaffold, tube and fitting as well. So, and then puts the first level on and then fixes and then pulls up the next level and fixes all by himself.
Wow.
The living unicorn.
Exactly that. I think he's had a couple of bad sort of, negative comments because sometimes no harness, sometimes.
Well, that's the other thing that's been surprising about scaffolding to me is like in any industry I've been in, like, okay, I was in IT for 15 years, right? And I'm managing like people's infrastructures. And I was a consultant, so I would have 20 clients at a time. And then I started managing people. I never went home and watched YouTube videos on IT. Like that was not a thing to go home and my entertainment wasn't also my work. But that is for scaffolders. They universally are into the culture of scaffolding as well. And you don't see electricians. There's no YouTubers that are like, watch how I hook up these wires. Like that doesn't exist, but scaffolders are doing that stuff. And it's really a fascinating culture. And the more that I get into it and the more that I've started to learn about it, the more fascinating it is to me.
I think it draws a certain type of person, alpha male usually, tend to get involved in scaffolding. There are no barriers to entry really. So, in the UK, certainly it's people from, would you probably say lower economic backgrounds and so very working class. Very hardworking, rough and ready. There's a big drinking culture. There is, there's also there's a big fitness culture as well. There's a lot of scaffolders who keep themselves fit, and there's that as well. But there is a big sort of drinking culture, and it's all bravado and challenge. I think anywhere you find those ingredients, you're always going to find, conversation around the topic. You're always going to find, we call it banter. In the UK, you're always going to find a conversation around the topic because it's like, because there's so much bravado and I don't do it like that. What do you do that for? Like everyone's got a different, and they all want to kick holes out of each other and stuff. Very interesting, and it's happening more and more now with the social. There's one called on TikTok called the Scaff Police, and that's showing like all the naughty things. Have you seen it?
That's the most interesting. I haven't seen it yet because I'm too old for TikTok.
Yeah. I feel like people send me links,
but in fact, that's you learn from the mistakes from others, and it's always funny when you see how people solve problems on the wrong way, and you learn always plus, you never learn minus. So it's interesting to share these things. But what he pointed out, this aspect, what he pointed out that we are the business who is really team sport and we work together and so spend more time with the guys on site than with your family.
Yes.
During the week.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is your second family, and so you share with them, and you know, it's a chain. The chain is that strong, like the weakest part.
Yeah.
And when one guy comes in the morning totally drunk and pissed, so the whole team cannot fulfill the job. They do not.
Are you listening to this, Frankie? By the way, what he's saying? My best mate is always drunk.
And so you need to rely on each other. You need to respect each other. You need that. And if someone has a bad day, so you put him in the middle to assemble the scaffolding. If the guy on the top has a bad day, so another guy should share the job.
Yeah.
Another guy had to go on the top, and this is what keeps the people together, what keeps the guys together. So, and in the evening we can go out and have a drink. And in the morning we wear the same clothes and put on the gloves and go up on the scaffolding and
the hand shoes
the hand shoes and do our task and try to make it good, because this is how we earn the money that we can buy our kids some toys, buy our wives some flowers, and have a good life.
Yeah. Happy wife, happy life.
That's it.
There's one big problem with that statement. They're never happy. I can hear him setting up next door, so I think we could continue this conversation all day and probably all night. And I think the likelihood is we probably will. It'll just be off camera. So we'll go next door, see what's happening. Thank you very much for getting involved. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you both on the podcast. And I'm sure we're going to continue speaking a lot in the future.
A lot more. And thank you for the invitation. And let's go outside and have some fun.
Yes.
Thanks.